good? Call the meeting to order?
Please.
Call the Board of Health meeting to order. First is approval of the minutes. It was John and I that were here. I don't see, motion to accept?
Motion to accept minutes.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? None. Michelle, what do you have? You want to go right in order?
So we need to discuss the health fees.
Yep.
Increasing the health fees. And that package was sent to you. So I made a comparison, so I made a chart, and I compared Lynn, PVD, Damas, and Beverly.
Yep.
And to what some of the rates were. And Lisa was kind enough to recommend, because she knows better than I do. So Lynn does lag behind a lot in them, so I would just ask if you could just review it. There are some that we do need to establish fees for, like on the first one, a tattoo apprentice. We had spoken about that at a few meetings ago.
Yeah.
That's on hold though right now, but, so just to, in case to have a fee with that. The rest of them, we do have, and then the ones that I recommended with Lisa to increases on what we do. Questions?
So are these all the recommendations in the notes
Yes,
of what we go to?
yes,
And then the first column is what we currently have now.
correct. We just needed to talk about the apprentice one. The tattoo apprentice. Or if you see any others that you
So
want.
none of the other communities have apprentice fees?
A tattoo apprentice is just up and coming,
Okay.
and I do think that in the future they will have a tattoo.
Yeah, so we're working on redoing those tattoo regulations.
Yeah.
The reason why we've held off on coming back to you is because NEHAR is putting out a model set of updated regulations to include like microblading and stuff. So we're kind of waiting for that to come out and see how much of it is similar to what we've done. But when we do vote to establish new tattoo regulations, an apprentice program will be established in Lynn, and we'll need to set a fee for an apprentice permit.
Do we have any idea of anywhere else that may have fees? There's nothing on this list.
No, Lynn, Peabody, Davis, they do not. Lisa, do you think just the same as?
Yeah, we could do it the same, I mean.
As an artist,
Yeah,
per se? Because
absolutely.
that's what he's learning to be.
Exactly, yep,
Yeah,
yep.
I have no
or
issue
if you
with
want
that.
less, or,
I mean, an apprentice has to work under somebody, so
Yeah.
there is some kind of assumption that they can do less with that permit than a practitioner. So I don't know, maybe it's a $25 difference, I don't know, I mean,
so,
I hate when I have to pay more money for lower sugar oatmeal. I'm like, I have less ingredients in my food and it costs me more money.
I mean, plus you're an apprentice, I mean, they're not gonna be earning as much either.
Right, so there is a part of me that does feel like perhaps it should be a little bit lower. And it's gonna be a whole new revenue fee.
all right.
It's gonna be a whole new fee, so it's gonna be money that we weren't earning before, that we will be earning.
Yep.
I'd say 50, I think it should be less than the artist.
And what our artists are at, what?
100.
100. The other one I just want to bring to your attention.
And excuse me, would that be annual? Because our apprentice program, the regulations are going, it could be up to a 2-year apprentice program. That's going to depend on the person who the apprentice is working with to determine if they're ready to get a permit. So do we want to make it for the entire length of their apprenticeship or annually?
Probably annually. Are all of the fees annual fees?
Yes.
Then it would be $50 annually.
Okay.
So did you say you had a question?
Yes, I have a few comments. Under pools, we do not have a pool plan review, but Lisa, with the new YMCA, they are having 2 pools, the
Okay.
Lynn YMCA. And so Lisa had to work with a consultant about a pool plan review. So I think that we need to incorporate a fee because we have to pay the consultant.
And I've also had to work with a consultant on the pool that's being built on the Monroe Street property, the new luxury apartments. They're putting a pool on the 10th floor roof. They're putting an in-ground pool up there, yes.
Wow,
And the
very
Beacon
nice.
Chevrolet site is also possibly going to have some kind of pool area. So as we're seeing more of this larger scale development, we're probably going to see more pools coming in. I think Pat McGrath may be even considering a pool at the Porthole development site.
Really?
So it's definitely something that, while we haven't done it in a long time, because new pools haven't been built, all of a sudden they're being built.
All right, well, the pool plan review, Peabody's 150, Danvers has nothing, Beverly is 200. I mean, we're bigger than all these communities. Does that necessarily mean we have to charge more? No.
We could do something, we could get a little bit more complicated and say, any pool that holds more than 50 people, any pool that's less than 50 people, or we could just say the size of the pool, how big is the pool, we could base it on. We could base it on different things if you didn't want to set just one set fee.
But once you do a pool plan review, you never go back to it again. Like once you finished with the YMCA pools, like.
There'll be no need for a review again.
No, then they'll have to apply for their pool permits and we'll inspect them annually.
Okay, so I don't,
So it's a one-time fee, exactly.
yeah.
So the suggestion on the pool permit is going from 75 to 100. Seasonal pool permit to be the same. Special purpose wading pool. Now, are those like this, are we talking like the splash pads that we have?
Special purpose are like spas, like
Okay.
a hot tub at one of the gyms, or they have these weird like float tank things that you see in some of the health clubs like in Peabody and Danvers. Or if there's like a wading pool, some people have a wading pool for children.
Do we have many of those in the city?
We have one hot tub at the YMCA, which I do not know if it will stay open once the new building is done.
All right.
Well, since we are bigger than the other two, I think that we should at least be comparable to Peabody, and I don't know, maybe, because you did spend a lot of time with them, and you drove to Braintree.
It's a lot of work doing a pool plan review. There's a lot of things to consider. And again, it's the cost of sending it out to a consultant. I mean, we may not necessarily completely cover the cost, but we should be able to recoup some of it.
Right.
Excuse me. And don't forget too, when we talk about annual pool permits going up, that's to cover the inspections that ISD does on those pools that are open 365 days a year, which to me should be more money than the condos where the pools are only open Memorial Day to Labor Day.
So I would suggest 200, but if you're not comfortable with that, then
For the pool plan review,
yes.
I don't have a problem with
It's
that.
just a one-time thing per pool.
Correct.
I'm comfortable with that.
Okay.
I'm okay with that, 200 for that. And then do we want to have a special purpose wading pool fee? Is that something we're looking to do?
Well, we already have the fee. It's the $75 right now.
It falls under the seasonal pool permit?
Right now we have one pool fee. We have
Okay.
one annual,
Just the one fee
and
of
it's $75. So I was suggesting breaking it out, having the pools that are open 365 days a year pay more for their permit than the people who only have theirs open for 3 months out of the year.
Okay.
And special purpose wading, they're generally even smaller than seasonal pools, but they could also be open all year.
So what are your suggestions?
I mean, I could see leaving special purpose at the same price. I mean, I wouldn't want to go down. We're certainly not looking to collect less money, but we may not necessarily be looking to make more money on that particular permit.
Okay, so you're recommending 100 for the annual pool permit, 75 for the special pool permit, 75 for the special purpose waiting.
Yeah, and for the seasonal pool, yep.
Mhm. Yeah, I'm okay with that.
So, yeah.
And then the waste hauling, the refuse, septic transfer, go up to $100.
From 25,
Yes.
I'm okay with that as well.
Okay, and then recreational camps, Lisa's favorite.
They are a lot of work. They are a lot of paperwork and a lot of review. And $50 is just really minimal. I also don't want to overburden anybody because I'm trying to get more people to obtain these permits like they're supposed to. So I don't want to make it so expensive or that it doesn't make sense for people to do the right thing and come in and get them. But given the amount of work it takes on my end and another inspector's end to inspect them during the season, $50 doesn't even begin to cover
Where
our
are
costs.
those? I'm sorry. I missed it.
Right at the very bottom, 38. And
Oh, recreational, okay, yeah. So you want to go to 150, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm okay with all those increases, are you?
But the recreational camps, aren't those usually not-for-profit organizations?
Well, I mean, Challenger Sports, I don't think is not-for-profit. That's the British soccer camp.
Okay.
Trying to think who else we have in the city. I mean,
Like Lisa,
Are these long-term overnight camps or a
no,
one-day
no,
camp?
no.
Like
These are
the
just
one-day
these are
camps?
summer camps, basically.
Yeah.
They're summer camps. We don't. There's a lot of people out there who do not get the permits that they're supposed to get.
so you might have like the basketball camps or the softball camps or,
Yes.
there's.
Yeah.
Football camps and stuff like
we're
that.
on,
Yeah.
yeah. So we need to, we should be charged for some of those,
Mhm.
so.
Okay.
So on the side too, you'll see, on the second page, that like if you get your application in 30 to 45 days before the start date, you're at, we're following Peabody.
I don't have that page.
Am I on the right one? No?
That's, yeah, that's the cover.
Yeah, I'm missing that page.
Actually, you know what? It goes from 38 to 68.
I go to 39.
I don't have
Yeah.
a 39.
Let me see.
Okay.
Yeah, I got 38 and
And when is the next one that you?
68.
So then we make what?
Because it's all on the back. Lisa had her own copies in there, and then on the back of Lisa's whole packet, I did your package. So on the very,
This packet.
And
right
then this
there, on
packet
the
here?
back of that one right there, yep.
No, that's food, I think. Let me,
Ah, I see what you're saying,
Okay.
okay.
That's,
Yep, here it is, 39 to 67.
okay. So I think like some of those two, like 15 to 30, so 2 weeks before it starts and less than 15. We have people who come running in less than, a week before it starts. So I would ask you to consider those fees.
Is there some way we communicate those fees to the different camps that have pulled permits in the past so that they know?
Oh yeah, I have them
Months?
on an email list because I usually reach out to them in January, February, and say, anytime you want to drop off your camp permit, I'm happy to start looking at it now, not 2 days after you open.
And also inform them if they do it with less notice than 45 days, it's going to be a significant increase in their fee.
I can absolutely do that.
Lisa's good about approaching them earlier as opposed to later, like to give them
Which is
enough
good.
time.
Yeah, because there's a lot of paperwork, and about 2 years ago, the state updated all the regs, and it's, we're trying to get everybody to get all their stuff in every year, and it's still a little bit of a learning curve. I mean, I definitely think doing a fee for if you're 45 days ahead of your start date, or another fee is great, because it gives me what I really want, which means I'm getting those permits in earlier to review, and it helps them by keeping the cost down. I don't want to necessarily do like so many different timeframes, because then that's a little bit of extra work on the clerks to have to remember like which fee to charge them, because it's this many days. And
I just think too, like for the amount of work that it takes,
Yeah.
because you have to make sure, like, there's a lot that's incorporated to it. Like there's the application, there's the doctor part of things, there's
like
the,
we have to go out to the camp during the season and check to see if there are any injury reports. We have to check the child records to make sure that each record has the immunizations and the parental release and the parental signs off. We have to do the same thing for the staff and the volunteers, make sure Corey's and Sori's were run, make sure they have their immunizations. So it is
a lot of work.
Yeah, it is a lot of work. I mean, like you said, it's a rec camp too, so we certainly want to be accommodating because they're an important function in the city in the summertime. We need them.
these fees have not been updated in
Right.
quite some time, or even addressed. And we've been asked by the CFO to go over them and to address them. So I think even though some of them seem like a big jump, I think that it would bring us up to where other people, other cities and
Yeah,
towns are.
up to comparables.
Yeah. And with that, I'll just move on if that's okay.
Yeah,
Dumpster, we definitely need
50
to
100, yeah.
increase that. Now, tobacco, we are very low compared to others. And we are the biggest city out of the Joyce's Collaborative, where she has the 14 other cities and towns. And we've always been at 50, and she suggested, and Lisa, to go up to 150, which I think we should consider.
I'm all right with that.
Okay. And Lisa, you know more about the lodgings and groups than I do.
I don't have that page, I'm sorry.
Oh,
So rooming houses and lodging and group homes
Yep.
are currently at $100 a year, and then we're looking to
Mid-range.
change it to
number 48.
$10 extra for each room more than 5.
We're actually doing that now. That is our current fee. It's $100, and then for every room over 5, it's $10 for each room.
Okay.
That went up probably within the past 3 years, so I don't know that we necessarily want to change that.
Okay.
I mean, rooming and lodging houses are a business, but they're paying that fee, I believe, for both health and building.
Okay.
100 feet for you and then 100 for building?
No, they're paying more than 100. They're paying $100 for the first 5 rooms. And if there's 30 rooms, they're paying
I see.
25 times 10 on top of the 100.
Okay.
And I believe it's the same fee for building.
The building and the health are the same fee?
Yeah,
I
so
believe
if
it's an
it's-
additional 10,
Yeah,
so it's the first 5 or 100 and then additional 10 for each
And with
Right.
moving
Okay.
forward.
Okay. And then the apartment and all of the dwellings, that went up to $50 as of October 1st. So I think that one's fine. The late fee is a little bit of an issue. We had never charged late fees in the past, and within the last 2 years, 1 year?
we've been charging late fees since I got here.
Oh, since
We
then?
changed the late fees 2 or 3 years ago to $10 a day. It used to be that the late fee was $250. Whether you were late 1 day or you were late 25 days, you paid $250. It was determined that it was kind of punitive to charge for someone who was late by 1 day the same as someone who was late by 25 for 25 days. So it turned into $10 a day. A fee was assessed up to a cap of $250.
Okay.
I think that's.
That sounds reasonable.
Yeah, I think what I'm looking for on that one though is, right now, we only apply that to food permits. Can we start applying that to tobacco permits and tattoo permits and pool permits and dumpster permits
Oh,
and?
it should be everything. Why is it?
Late fee should apply to everything, shouldn't it?
Right, but we've never really kind of put that,
Okay.
I guess, yeah, we should have it,
Never enforced it.
clarified in writing, yeah, so that I can say to everybody, every permit. So if you're a food establishment and you're a convenience store and you're late, you're paying a late fee, you may be paying $250 on your food permit and you may be paying $250 on your tobacco, and you may be paying $250 on your dumpster.
Yeah,
Okay.
Okay, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, well, I'll put that in
I
writing.
mean, what's good for one is good for all, so.
Yeah. I mean,
Okay.
I have some people who are consistently late every year, and I think to myself, oh, if you're late, I wish I could make it so that if you were late 2 years in a row, I could double your fees.
And go with that. The reinspection fee, the catering, are you okay with that reinspection fee, Lisa?
I mean, a reinspection fee is because you did not correct violations the first time that you were ordered to correct them. So if someone goes, like, we'll just say they go out to a house and someone has a broken window and we order them to correct the window within a month. If we go back within a month and that window's not corrected, we're supposed to be able to charge you for the next inspection because that's time, taken from the inspector to go back. I mean, $50 is kind of low, but on the other hand, I mean, how much do we really want to, it's also something with the monitor and, I mean, I don't think it's low in terms of the food inspectors when they have to go back out because, their fee for their re-inspections, that we should be charging what the fee for their re-inspections are. So there's a little bit of a difference between code and sanitary re-inspection fees. Sanitary being like our housing complaints, our pool complaints, things like that. Code being like the food and stuff like that. So, but we can actually address the food stuff in the retail grading program. We could just say, the retail grading program could say, please see the ISD schedule of fees for the most recent or updated re-inspection fees. But we could keep it at 50, I mean.
75, do you want? Or would 100, so that.
I mean,
people
50
would-
seems reasonable when you're just charging a landlord for something and they
Yeah.
have to go back out. I don't know how I feel about when it's a business and we have to go back out. You know what I mean? Like, I'd feel terrible for some little gentleman who owns a 3-family who just, for whatever reason, hasn't gotten to fixing something yet, and here we are charging him an extra $100 or whatever to go back out there.
Do you want to just remain the same?
Yeah, I think that's probably.
Okay. Catering, you have with that, catering license out of town.
Oh, right. So, yeah, so what was it, $100 for a 6-month license?
Yeah,
So that's for people, that's for places that, like Whitman's Caterers, they used to come and do sit-down catering, like say at the Lynn Museum. They're supposed to contact us to get a permit to do that.
Okay.
So I thought because they're not in town, in the city, and permitted by us, and they're not probably in here on a daily basis, that permit fee should be less than what the annual food permit fee is for a restaurant in Lynn. And given that I don't know how often people are actually catering, I figured a 6-month permit would probably be more appropriate. I mean, I don't really know how often that happens, to be honest with you. Most of the things that I go to are catered by in-Lynn people.
yeah.
I was gonna say, what was that play, Whitman, Miziok, or Miziok, Whitman, or whatever
Yeah,
it was?
yeah, and Vinwood,
Which
I think.
They're no longer in business anyways.
Right,
But yeah, I
right.
know the one you're talking about. They cater our firefighter memorial, or they used to cater our firefighter memorial Sunday breakfast. And they're out of Salem, so.
Yeah, and when I say catering, I don't mean like that they bring food, put it in a chafing dish and leave. I mean they stay and they serve you food
Yeah.
like a plated meal. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
So what you wanna leave that as is?
Yeah, because
Okay.
that isn't the current one. That's a increase.
Okay.
Commercial food processing, 250.
That's one that I have a question on only because commercial food processing, and this is where we kind of get into the whole, we have so many food permit fees that they kind of don't make sense. Commercial food processing is somebody who takes things and makes them into food and then sells them, which usually means they have a wholesale license from the state. And if they have a wholesale license from the state, they don't need a license from us.
Okay.
So I can't really think of a situation where there would be commercial food processing sold at retail. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
Yep. So we'll just exit up.
yeah, I
Okay.
think we should just,
The ice cream truck, did we go up with ice cream trucks, I
I thought we recommended we do.
Yeah. And at 75?
I don't have my notes with me, I'm sorry.
Okay. I put 75, so I'm assuming that that's what you had suggested.
Well, that's the current price,
Okay.
75.
So it would only be.
Yeah, I think I did leave it at 75 because it was considered seasonal. Yeah.
Okay. And then.
Food, the 60 through 67, 69 should go. What? These are mine? This is on grading. It's on the fees. Thank you. Yes, I never understood what these fees were, to be honest with you, because almost every food service establishment, including common victular, falls under other food permit types. So what I thought would be better would be to get rid of 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66, 67, 68, 69, although I don't even know that we actually have all those might just be from other cities, and start with, we're on number 78 where it says food permit,
Yep.
and go by our types. So we have 4 types of food permit, a type 1 being a low risk permit, a type 2 being low to mid risk permit, type 3 being mid to high for our special populations, and type 4 being our high risk permits. Obviously, a high-risk permit would be the highest kind of permit that we have. Like that's like your Rollies, your Tonys, Rosettis, Blue Ox, Rincon on Liberty Street, those places. And I also thought we should break them out by whether they're annual, seasonal, or temporary, because we do have some temporary events where they're making high-risk food, but for the time period that they're making it, it shouldn't be the same as someone who's making it for a year. I definitely wanted to spell out what seasonal meant. So seasonal will be 6 months, depending on when you get the permit for. And temporary per the food code is no more than 14 days. The only exception I wanted to make was for little leagues, Pup Warner, the soccer people down at Holyoke Park, the flag football leagues, they all sell candy and popcorn, and sometimes they sell pizza, and it's not even a 6-month permit.
Yeah.
And they're all nonprofit. I just want to know what they're doing and make sure that the concession stands are clean. So I specifically put youth league nonprofit for $50, just to keep that at a low cost.
But now, with the Youth League nonprofit, now some of those play at Manning.
Right, like flag football.
Flag football, Pup Warner, Lynn Chargers, they all play, so
But I don't think they use the Manning Field concessions.
they do.
Flag football doesn't.
The Chargers do, and I
Okay.
believe Pup Warner does.
Okay.
So we're gonna hit them with
No, because
50 and
no,
then...
because if they're using Manning Field concessions, Manning Field has a food permit.
Okay,
So Manning Field will let them use their establishment, and I'm sure Manning Field is working something out with them, and they're working under Manning Field's permit.
yeah, so I see Fraser, I don't see anything on Manning, I see Fraser Field for 100.
Yeah, that needs to come off too. I don't.
For an event per day,
Yeah, I don't.
What number's that?
160, very last page. So if I remember correctly, and obviously my son's been out of the Chargers for a long time, but I believe the field charges the league $100 per day
Oh.
to use the concession stand, which would cover their permit for that day. You see what I'm saying? So that was my only concern with the youth sports league for $50 and then the,
Well, if they were using the Manning Field concession stand, I would say they don't need to get their own permit.
okay, perfect.
You know, because Manning Field has a permit.
Yeah.
You know,
okay.
so if, for instance, we walked in and did an inspection at Manning Field, and Pop Warner was there that day in charge of the kitchen, we do an inspection and say, hey, Manning Field, you know, Rich Avery, you're responsible for this, even though it was technically Pop Warner's day and not
Yeah.
Rich Avery, he would still be responsible
Yep.
for it. Yeah.
Oh, I get that. So the youth sports league is more like you said, like the soccer tournament, what's that, Memorial Day weekend?
Yeah.
I think they do it.
Yeah.
Okay. And you're okay with that $50 for the youth sports league one?
I am. You know, we're not trying to make
They're
money off
nonprofits,
those guys. We
yeah.
just, you know what I mean? Just, they're selling food technically. They should have a permit, you know, but listen, we all know what
No,
they do.
I get it. I get it, and I understand that, I appreciate that.
Yeah, for
you
sure.
know.
I'm sorry, Mike, I keep getting hit.
That's all right.
Rescore, reinspection, permit upgrade, change of ownership, Lisa.
Yeah, so sometimes we just have people come in, they want to change the name of their restaurant. And it's really just an administrative thing. We're just changing the permit information. But, you know, there should be a cost associated with the time that it takes to process that application. We don't change their expiration date. So if someone comes in May, changes the name of the restaurant, and their current permit expires in October, we basically just charge them the $50 to change the name and give them a new permit. And then they'll renew their permits in October for a year with the right name.
Okay.
Some people do want to upgrade their permits. And for that, I wanted to set up a $75 fee because there is an inspection involved in that. So maybe someone who owns a convenience store wants to start selling hot soup, and they want to keep soup hot in a warmer. Well, now that requires having CFPM training and allergen training and certain washing devices to make sure that they're doing all that right. So we let them upgrade their permit, and there's a fee for that because there is an inspection.
And then from 103 to,
Mm-hmm.
oh, you have to do food, we don't do food plan review?
Oh, yes, we do. We
I
do.
mean, we do them, but not at a price?
Yeah,
I don't have a price on here.
on 105, 106, 107.
I do, but what is 108, 109, 110?
I think those are related to the Peabody ones.
Okay.
I
Which
think they're
flips over to 111 as well, yeah.
Right.
They only show
So
Peabody ones.
our food plan review fees had recently gone up probably in the past 2 or 3 years.
Okay.
I think they're probably reasonable.
Okay.
Again, that's one of those things that you balance out. You don't want to make it so expensive for people to come here and open a restaurant, but
Okay. So you're okay with 105 to 107?
Mhm.
Okay.
And then the next page here, from 111 to 155, there's nothing except for takeout.
from 111, right. So,
Charge for the rink?
well, we don't have to do inspections at the Connery rink because they don't have a gas Zamboni. They have an electric Zamboni. So we don't have to worry about inspections there. We should, however, have a fee in case for some reason they ever change their Zamboni and we have to go there and do an inspection. We should have a fee set up for that.
Okay. 50?
So we could do the fee now, but obviously wouldn't be charging them
Correct.
unless something happened.
Correct. Correct. They're exempt from having to get a permit from us right now.
Peabody's going from 50 to 100. Davis and Beverly don't have ice rinks.
And Beverly does not either.
Yeah, no.
No, Peabody has the high school. That's the high
Yeah, the
school.
one at the high school
Yeah,
grounds.
yeah,
And the rink is open all year, right?
Yes,
yeah.
Okay. So
yes.
that, to me, that makes a little bit of a difference too.
So I mean, they're going from 50 to 100.
I would say 100, it's equal to what we're doing for annual pools.
Okay.
That's fine.
Okay. Milk, all that stuff, no. School, how do we do the schools?
We charge the schools. I think because because the schools have a contract, and it's not necessarily Lynn Public Schools, I think it's Chartwell.
Correct.
So technically, it's not a city agency that runs the school lunch program. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
So that's already,
Yep, that's already been established. They pay the fee
Okay.
they pay the fee for the type of permit that they have, which is a type 3.
Okay, they have type 3. And with septic, we don't have a lot of septic, right?
No, but we do have some.
Though, okay.
So that was one of the ones I did not really get a chance to look at. We do need to come up with a well permit fee because we did vote for well guidelines for people who have wells. So like 12 Spring Pond is gonna be working towards getting his well permit. He's working on that filtration system right now. He's got a loan from Lynn Housing. So when he gets everything and can provide me with documentation that he has potable water, I need to be able to give him a well permit. I need to charge him for it.
So is that a lot of work for you? Or-
Just because it's new.
Well, I know. So what, 50 to 75? As I'm looking at Peabody, nobody else has one really.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's maybe something we should check out what other communities have. I
Okay.
mean,
Okay.
we don't have a lot, some other communities are all well and septic. One of the first things I dealt with when I came here was a septic system. And a septic plan review and going out and doing a percolation test and all that stuff. And again, that's something else that we contract out. So if someone did come in and needed to put in a septic system, we had to send that out. So I believe we contract with Wind River Environmental. And they do the review and they do all that testing for us.
Okay.
And what about all the ones above the wells? Do we have fees for all those yet, for the septic?
No. Well, we have septic haulers. We did that under offensive trade.
Okay.
But we don't have for the construction permits and stuff like that. I mean, I would imagine whatever Peabody does, Peabody's on municipal water and sewer, correct?
Yes.
So, I mean, they're probably very similar to us.
I believe they are.
Yeah, they're probably very similar to us with very few of those things. Again, they're not really inspections that we're doing. With the wells, it would just be providing me paperwork every year. Maybe we just look to accept what Peabody is as the most comparable community to Lynn in terms of that stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Spring water bottling, we don't do that, do we?
No, we don't do beaches.
We don't do beaches, livestock, I don't know. No, we don't have horses or anything. Do you do anything with change of occupancy?
We have, that we went over that. That one just went up in October to $50.
It did, okay.
Yep.
And the second reinspection we're doing is a 50 still?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Residential kitchens?
Same thing as food permits. I think instead of having so many different categories of food permit types, we should just say you're either a type 1, 2, 3, or 4, and you're either annual, seasonal, or temporary.
Perfect.
And then right off the bat,
Yeah.
you fall into one of those categories. Having one set of fees for residential kitchens, I don't know, someone could make a lot of money selling brownies all year out of their kitchen.
Yeah.
They could make more money than a convenience store. I don't know, you know what I mean? Like, I just think it's better just to say, based on the risk of your permit and based on the length of your permit is what the fee is going to be.
Okay. Are you okay with that before I say yes? Okay. Title V, sewage.
Yeah, we'll need some of those.
Okay,
That's all septic stuff.
all right.
What's the last page, Beverly? New construction's 225 and upgrades
Yes.
125 and the soil evaluation additional day is $50 per hour. I say we just mirror that.
Okay.
You good with that?
Yep.
And, biological safety, I don't know, takeout, we'll keep it in
I think we need to get rid of those fees.
The takeout?
Yeah, I've never used them because I've never felt qualified enough to review someone's taxes, determine what the gross annual income of their restaurant is to know how to determine them for a food permit.
You get it? Okay.
And the same for 156, 758.
Yeah, Fraser Field,
Take that out.
yeah, I mean, again, they're just depending on the type of food they're doing, the risk of the food, and the length of the permit.
Okay. 162 to 164.
162 to 164. Renovations, I don't know if that means,
I know, to the building, to the food building, I think. Well, to like a, I don't know, like if,
That would fall under food plan review, so,
Okay.
yeah.
okay, so we'll just take
There you
those.
go.
Yep,
Okay,
yep.
so you just need a motion to,
Accept the changes?
yes, please.
Motion to accept changes as discussed.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it.
Freeze. Okay. Food grading is Lisa again.
Oh, boy.
Oh,
But
boy.
this is only just, this is for your information.
Okay.
All right, and we'll discuss it in January.
Okay.
We'll vote on it in January.
So, we met with you guys last December, and we suspended the food grading program because the previous December, the board had voted to, accept the 2013 food code. Our food grading program was designed on the 1999 food code. And, because the changes were so different, we didn't feel that it was fair to continue to grade them on something that we weren't, enforcing. So we worked with Cindy Rice, who is a consultant who works with the local regional, the North Shore Digs, am I saying that correctly?
Yes.
We worked with Cindy Rice, who presents at a lot of the conferences and stuff that we go to, is familiar with, she actually brought the food update to us. She brought the 2013 code to us in all the communities. She did a ton of trainings with the inspectors, with the local communities. We worked with her to update the food grading program. And what she did for us was she did a point scale for us. So this initial page, so instead of going from 0 to 100 points, we're now gonna go from 0 to 450 points.
The second one. Yeah, this one.
So basically it now says an A grade will go from 386 points to 450 points. So the point structure has changed, and it's changed because we went from critical and non-critical violations to priority foundation, and core violations. So now we have 3 sets of violations instead of 2. So as a result, we had to weigh them differently and change the whole scoring criteria. Cindy Rice did that for us. So she's the one who decided, based on the food codes, what violation is a priority foundation. And that is at the very back. It's an Excel spreadsheet. So this is basically how people will be graded.
I think that's in the, should be. Yes, those,
Well, it's like the back part of Lisa's notes.
So,
So it's an Excel spreadsheet.
on this one. It's on the back of Lisa's on this one.
On this one.
Yeah. Get through that one. Yes, no.
Right.
Yes. So, yeah,
You find it?
Yeah, it's in this, it's about a third to a half away in.
Oh, here it is.
so Cindy had gone through all of those and
Mhm.
given us the correct point.
So
Okay,
so
actual
see how it says PF, and it says, P, and then you'll see C, and you'll see 4 points, 12 points, 4 points, 2 points.
Yep.
That's how the inspectors will know how many points to take off for a violation.
Okay.
And that will determine people's grades. If you add all these points up, the most points you can get is 450.
Okay.
So, we're still doing the same process, the numbers have just changed.
Okay.
So we're still gonna issue A's, B's, C's, and notices of closure, that won't change. What I really wanna talk to the board about is, changing some of the policy that's in the grading program right now. So that is what I highlighted in the email dated November 13th. Yeah, I believe it's that.
Which one's the November
13 or
19?
19? 19?
Oh, you know what, it might say 19th, I might have just printed a different copy of
Yeah,
it, sorry guys.
yeah.
So, I convened a group of restaurant owners, so I had a couple different people, from different aspects of food service. We had someone from My Brother's Table, we had someone from a restaurant, We had
At Dunkin' Donuts.
We had Dunkin' Donuts, so we had some different kind of food establishments on board. And Michelle and I met with them to go over some policy changes. And one of the biggest policy changes is how often we do grading. The grading program that we suspended last December required 3 inspections per year.
Okay.
The state requires 2 inspections per year. My suggestion was that if you get an A, you have 2 inspections per year. If you get a B, and when I say per year, I mean 365 days.
Yeah.
If you get a B, you have 3 inspections. And if you get a C, you will have 4.
Right.
So we're going into the food establishments more often that need help. The people who get B's and C's would have to pay for those additional inspections over 2. So the goal here is to bring everybody up to par and get everybody up as high as possible by more inspections and making them accountable for their inspections. And you know, let's face it, it worked with La Parada. It took a while,
Yeah.
but it worked. You know,
True.
not that I want to punish anybody monetarily, but if you're at a C and you could be close to being closed, and we have to go back there to make sure you're staying up, then that should be something that you have to pay for. You know, that fee should not be put across the board on all food permits for the people who do get an A every time. So that was my suggestion. I think that's probably like the biggest change. And then there were just some other things. The inspections. We have to update the letter grade form to say that inspections are available upon request. That's part of the new code. And just so you know too, all routine inspections include one follow-up inspection. So if someone goes out there today and there's 3 violations, then food inspectors are gonna go back. And that's not gonna cost anybody any money. But if they have to go back again, that is gonna cost. And that goes back to the conversation we had with the fees about what are we going to charge these businesses when we have to go back because you didn't fix stuff the first time you had the opportunity to fix it. I wanted to really be transparent with this document so that when people got it, they would understand what to expect. And there's a lot of confusion about the different types of inspections that we do. So I wanted to be very clear that we have routine inspections, re-inspections, we have follow-up re-inspections, which is like the 3rd time the food inspector's been there. We have rescore inspections, which was allowed under the previous program, and I do believe that we should still continue to allow. Previously, it was 1 per fiscal year. I think it should just be 1 per calendar year. I'm not a fan of someone comes in, gets a C, and then rushes in because they don't want a C on their door, pays for a rescore inspection, we go, oh, great, they got an A because they've just fixed everything, and then, you know, we go back and they're a C again, and they come back and do the same thing. You should only be allowed to get a rescore once a year. You know, if you're consistently getting C's, then you're a C, and that should be on the door for everybody to see.
Yep.
I did want to also implement foodborne illness follow-up re-inspections because there have been 2 cases recently where we've gotten notification from MDPH about some foodborne illness, and we've sent the inspectors out at no cost to the establishment to do an inspection. And it's very difficult to determine that's, you know, salmonella definitely came from somebody. But if you can identify a few violations of cross-contamination or a few violations of temperature holding, it's safe to say that if someone is saying they ate there and they've been diagnosed through a doctor, through testing, that they have a foodborne illness, if we go there and we believe that that can be verified, and again, this would only be in cases where we have a doctor's letter saying this person has been confirmed through fecal testing that they have this. If we go there and we determine that it's highly likely, the re-inspection needs to be paid for by the establishment. You know, I have no problem sending the food inspectors out there on the city's time and budget to check that complaint out. It's a complaint, we should. But if it's verified, then when the inspectors need to come back, then the establishment should be covering that cost. And when we met with the food establishments, they were fine with it. You know, I think they kind of felt like if you're doing something that caused someone to be sick,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
And pest infestation inspections. We've had a couple of places where they're teetering on like full-blown infestations. They're monitoring it. They're having pest control come in bi-weekly. They're doing everything they need to do. They're trying to get a hold of it. You know, not wanting to close people because it's not an eminent public health hazard, but we are trying to, what I'd like to do is to have the food inspectors go back there on a monthly basis just to inspect for pest control. And again, I feel like that should be a fee that's associated, that's carried by the establishment. You know, we shouldn't, the burden of a food permit fee shouldn't mean all these extra inspections because you have a pest infestation. Grades will be determined at routine inspections, we talked about that. Rescore inspections once a year. You know, this rescore inspection language isn't really any different than what is currently in the grading program.
What about, I'm looking at one bullet here for ticketable offenses, there's no monetary amount listed there.
Yes. So that was one of the things we wanted to come up with. So we have some local regulations such as bandsaws, having to be refrigerated, CFPM on site at all times, grease logs, pest control logs always being in the restaurant or establishment. And I wanted to just be able to say to people, like, we're going to ticket you at this amount. You know, usually what happens right now is I'll get a food inspection report and it says no person in charge at the time of the inspection. You know, that is, you know, they already know it's a regulation. So is it a first offense? Is it a second offense? Is it a third offense? It really should, I mean, you could look at it anyway. You're not supposed to have any offenses because this has been in effect for 2 years. But I just wanted to kind of, do I ticket them $50 every time? I just kind of wanted to set some ticketable fees out. I have no problem ticketing people, but I just wanted to be very, like I said, very transparent, and I want people to know you can expect this. If we go there and there's not a CFPM on site per the Board of Health regulations, or not even a pick on site per the food code, you're going to be ticketed.
Do you have a recommendation?
Burlington, is that the one you gave us?
Burlington is the CFPM on site at all times,
Burlington.
yeah.
And one in the packet, there's a Burlington
Okay.
regulation. And this is just to get you through, because come January is when we'll discuss
Yeah.
it. and vote.
I mean, I guess the question is, our ticketing process, 21D works so that we can ticket progressively. So the first time something happens, we can ticket you 50. The second time, we can ticket you 150. And the third time, we can ticket you 300. Is it really the first time that it's happened, though, if you know that this is supposed to be, and the food inspector goes? It doesn't really matter to me. It's just something that I want to bring up to the board, that I want to put in writing in the program. I mean, we can just say, hey, we get the inspection, they say you weren't there, it's $50. If they go back again, then it's going to be $150. And every time after that, it's $300. And that would be for every inspection. Routines, rescores, follow-ups. Say that again, Michelle.
Michelle, we're
Yeah.
part of that one.
I mean, that sounds reasonable to me, what do you do?
Yeah.
Okay. We also need to pass a regulation, and it needs to be a local regulation, to require people who are type 1 permits to get a permit. The 2013 food code eliminated the requirement for people who sell prepackaged food only to have a permit. We need to firm that up in writing by voting on that specifically. So for instance, a liquor store. You know, you go in, you buy gum, chips,
Peanuts,
soda,
whatever.
peanuts, right, some candy maybe. They are no longer required to have a food permit under the 2013 food code, which we are using. So if we're going to require them to continue to have a food permit, which we want to do, we need to set a Board of Health, a local regulation that requires that. And we can make that part of the retail grading program. And the same goes for florists, believe it or not, because they're technically selling food when they sell fruit baskets.
saw that.
I actually reached out to DPH about that one. I was like, it's probably a no-brainer, but I think I just want to double check to make sure that that counts. And they were like, yep, it absolutely does.
Is that something you want us to do tonight?
No, well, I want you to know that that's something I want to put in the retail grading program, so that when the retail grading program is voted on, those regulations are also voted on at the same time, because they'll be contained in the retail grading program.
Sure.
Yeah. There was some wording that we were gonna put in the retail grading program about emergency closures and suspensions of permits. And I did get some clarification on that, which was if a food license is removed in its entirety or suspended for any length of time in its entirety, and there's a liquor license, I need to notify the licensing board. I want to put that in the food grading program. I want that to be transparent to everybody so that it's right there. It doesn't seem like we're kind of picking and choosing what happens to who. We have no right to revoke the liquor license, because that comes from the licensing commission. That would be up to them to determine if, because they can't sell food, okay? That would probably happen in an imminent public hazard. So if there's a pest infestation that's so bad that we have to completely close the restaurant, I have to notify the licensing board. We completely close this restaurant. We can't even downgrade their permit to have them just sell peanuts and pretzels. And then if a food permit license has changed in its permit type to a lesser capacity, we don't need to notify the licensing commission. So we have the right to downgrade them. If we did that with La Parada, we kept them open by saying, hey, you can bring food in, we're not letting you cook for a while. Another thing is if a food permit is submitted, and I've been having this happen, they submit food permits and like 6-7 months goes by and they never call us for an inspection. I want to just be able to close that food permit. I don't have anything that says how long it's good for or not good for, so I just think that was something we should put in a retail grading program. Like if you haven't been able to get off the ground in 6 months to get an inspection, then you can just reapply and pay. I mean, how long, it turns into something. I now have 6 pages of food permits that I need to look at because 2 of them are taken up with people who've applied but aren't ready for their inspections yet.
So can you clarify that just a little for me?
So I have someone who put in a food permit application.
Yeah.
He put it in 3 months ago,
Okay.
and he hasn't been ready for an inspection yet. So at what point do I say, hey, I'm closing this permit out because you continue to show up as an open permit? I mean, do we keep it open for 3 years, 2 years?
Well, the permit's for a year, isn't
He doesn't have a permit yet, it's just an application.
it? Oh, the application.
I'm sorry, I should have
Misunderstood.
clarified that. I don't think I explained that clearly. So someone applies for a permit, they haven't been able to get their opening inspection yet. How long should I keep that application just sitting in limbo until?
Do they pay a fee when they apply?
Yeah.
And is it the same fee as a permit for the year?
Yep.
I would think a year.
Okay, I mean, that's fine. It doesn't matter to me. I just want to close some of these because they've been open for so long. I just want to get them off the,
Yeah.
I want to keep things a little bit clean and again, just want to put it in the retail grading program so it's very
It's
transparent what we're doing, you know?
I mean, if
Yeah.
they paid a 1-year fee, I think it should be open for a year.
Okay,
Yeah.
Right.
yeah, that
I
makes
agree.
sense, absolutely.
Yeah.
And if within a year they still haven't opened, it's time to
Yeah,
pay another
Pay it
application
again.
fee.
yep. And just a clarification on that too, some people will send in their food plan review and their food permit at the same time. Now, if someone's building a restaurant from scratch, I'm certainly not gonna hold their food permit application to the 1 year, because if it took them 4 months to 6 months to build out the restaurant, you know, I would definitely work with someone
Sure.
on that. But I'm just talking about the person who wants to, you know, move into some place that's already existing and take over the business. And like I said, Michelle and I, we met 2 or 3 times, I think, with a group of people, and they were all very on board with this. We did not have,
They weren't.
yeah,
They
we
were
did
very
not have,
receptive.
yeah, they were very
Yeah.
receptive.
Yeah, they were very receptive.
Yep, their biggest thing was that we make sure we give this out, like we have a meeting about it, which we're more than happy to have meetings, that we have it translated into Spanish. And I know when the board had put this out back in 2007 for the first time, there were a number of community meetings, which we'll do. I went to North Shore Latino Business Association to talk about working on this and saying, people, if you're interested in being on this committee, see me. Michelle and I went to the Chamber of Commerce, the Lynn Chamber of Commerce, and did the same thing. So, you know, we definitely went out of our way to make sure that people were aware of what's going on. So I feel pretty good about this. I feel like we really try to get people from different segments of the food industry. I had to kind of beg somebody to come on for restaurants. I was like, please, please, I need somebody from a restaurant. So,
When we were changing to the 2013 food code, Lisa had held a information session in the auditorium, and it went out to everybody. She held
I
like
remember
2 or
that.
3
Yeah.
different sessions, so I think maybe in that way we would probably
Yep.
do the same thing.
yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
And the food inspectors are ready for this too. They've already got the grades, the pointing system, so they're ready to roll with this as soon as we're ready to vote on it.
Okay.
Yep.
So for the next meeting, we'll take it up as a vote.
Sure.
All right, but we'll get it to you for your review. Flavor ban, just so that you know, the governor had also approved menthol and wintergreen, which we did not at the time, but tomorrow there's a, December 11th, there is a informational something else that he's going to talk about. So my,
What did you say about menthol and mint?
so the governor did it as a statewide that all flavors, including
Including menthol ban.
menthol, yeah, would be banned.
That's just flat out banned, they're not even sold in adult
No,
only stores, they're
No,
flat
it's
out
just
banned.
flat out banned altogether. So all flavors, vaping, that'll all correspond with tomorrow, the same thing. Vista Market is complying with things at the moment?
Yeah, they got an inspection. There may have been some concern about them not taking contaminated food off the shelves, but they did send their pest control in. I read through it, and they had met all the recommendations and fixed everything from previous, and they were, so, you know,
Good.
unless they got through to them exactly. Yep.
City Summit, on November 16th, the mayor held a city summit down at North Shore Community College. Very, very, very well received. It was very well received. Public Health did a workshop, and we also had a table. Elaine was with us. It was very well received. There were public safety, fire and police,
DPW was there.
DPW was there with like
Recycling.
recycling and trash.
Was EDIC there?
EDIC,
Lynn
North Shore
Community
Community College, Lynn Community Health. So there were a few, but it was very, very, very well received. A lot of people too.
Yeah, there were.
Yeah, I think it was very well received. Old business, new business, old business, just the flavor and the vaping again. New business is just, you know, Lisa's grading. Do I have anything else?
So quick question, if someone still wanted to remain an adult store, what would they be allowed to sell? Mint?
Regular tobacco.
Which a convenience store can sell, you don't need to be an adult store for that. So really there'll be no more need for adult stores.
At the moment, until tomorrow, I'm not
Okay.
quite sure.
There'll
He'll
be a
have-
THC pot shop type thing. Those would be the adult stores.
Yeah,
Right, but they can only sell, but the pot shops can only sell marijuana.
correct.
So the vape shops would probably be selling,
Tobacco,
I would assume,
nicotine.
tobacco, nicotine, but also the actual electronic cigarettes, vape devices
Yes.
themselves.
Yes.
Oh, the devices, okay.
Joyce did
Got it.
ask me to tell you that there are 6 stores in Lynn who are non-compliant with the cease and desist. She's given 6 cease and desist letters to stores that have sold vaping and flavors. So she's right up to date on that. It goes to the Attorney General's office for them to handle from going forward.
And FYI, there are about 3 or 4 people on the waiting list for a tobacco permit.
Is there really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Because if these adult-only stores go out, well, because there's 2 stores, the one on the Linway and Blossom,
Yep.
is that King of Apes?
No, King of Apes is down off of Western Ave, down by the Lydia Payton
Vape,
building.
X-Vape or something?
Ex-Vapor, yep.
That closed,
Did it?
yeah.
Okay, so is that permit available?
I don't know yet.
Okay.
One other, she told me the name of 2, and I'm sorry, the other one is.
Dykeman has an adult only.
Joyce thinks that he'll go out.
Yeah, and then and
Jolly Vape on Woodman is being underhanded, but.
And King of Apes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, King of Vapes, they can, I guess they're still selling tobacco.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So after tomorrow's press conference with the governor, I'll know more. But I just want to keep you up to date on the loop with that. And that is all that I have for now, in the next meeting. On January 14th, if that's acceptable.
Wow, January 14th, 2020.
I know.
Holy
Stop it.
crow.
I know.
It looks okay for me.
Yep, I'm good.
Okay, so you'll have the grading information. I'll try to make it so it's only about that in case we have any issues.
We gonna shoot for 302 that day?
Yes, I got booted out just so,
I heard.
yeah,
I saw the signs.
yeah. So 302 at 6:30, and you'll get your information just beforehand.
Okay,
All right?
sounds good.
Thank you. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, guys.
everybody.
And congratulations to your son for your
Thank you.
item